Hey guys, welcome back. This is History of Power Rangers Season 1, Episode 47 of my show, but this is about Episode 50. But before I start talking about it, I just want to mention two things. The first thing is, I don't upload videos on Mondays because I have to go to work, but I figured in this case I can kind of make an exception because, it's because of the weather outside and stuff like that. It's kind of snowing out, so it's still like a snow day, so I'm not at day program, so figured why not record a video today though. Just to use the time while I had it and stuff. Anyway. Oh, and also, I'm kind of excited, guys. The video I'm going to be talking about is going to be about episode 50 of season 1 of Power Rangers. We got 10 more videos left before the season finale, guys. So we're almost done. I just wanted to get that out of the way. So, now getting into the actual episode, I just wanted to get those two things out of the way there. This is History of Power Rangers Season 1, Episode 47 of my show, but this is about Episode 50. And, Episode 50 in the original Power Rangers series is part 2 of the two-part episode, Return of an Old Friend. But before I actually start talking about this part, I just want to mention again, after this second part, we'll have no more two-part or multi-part episodes left, at least for this first season. And after this video, every single episode will be one singular one. I just wanted to get that out of the way one last time. Since we're on episode 50, I just thought I'd mention it. Anyway, getting back into it, as I said, this is History of Power Rangers Season 1, Episode 47 of my show, but this is about Episode 50. And Episode 50 is part 2 of the Return of an Old Friend two-part episode. And basically the way this episode starts off is, because the way the first one ended was Tommy showed up in the youth center and he wondered where everyone was. And I just thought I'd mention that since that was part of the ending of the first part of this episode. So anyway, now getting into the actual storyline of the second part. Basically, Zordon tells the Rangers that the Green Ranger Power Coin may help them to defeat Rita, and they decide to basically bring Tommy to the command center in order to help them deal with Rita this time around. And getting into it again with when Rita sees that Tommy got teleported to the command center, she gets worried a little, basically because of the fact that she had already taken Tommy's powers away. So what good could he have been to them? Now I'm just gonna mention something very quickly about this. The only reason Tommy will remain the Green Ranger for the rest of this first season and some of the second season is mostly because of the fact that Zordon will basically re-energize his Green Ranger powers by using a segment of his own energy, basically. I thought I'd mention that. Anyway, basically, when Rita sees that Tommy got transported to the command center again, like teleported, she gets worried after she sees him there and stuff, and she's wondering what he can do to help them, and then Goldar reassures her that he can't because they took his powers away, which is kind of true in this case, because technically his Green Ranger powers are gone. And then basically what happens is, when Tommy's back in the command center, Jason's telling him, welcome back, old friend, and then they're telling him the situation, and basically I'm guessing in the scene, when it cut to black, I'm guessing they were, in the next scene, I'm guessing what they did was they explained to him the situation, and then he said he understands the situation, but what good is he going to be to help them when he doesn't even have his powers? And then Zordon basically explains that there is a way for him to get his powers back temporarily, as the Green Ranger back temporarily. Now basically what that means is, like I said, Zordon will use a partial amount of his energy to basically re-energize Tommy's powers, basically. So, but the Rangers are, I think it's Alpha at first, he's getting a little upset with Zordon that he can't really do that, and then Jason's kind of agreeing, because what if these temporary powers give out during a battle and such? And then he explains that I think it's Tommy, he also explains that there's not really much choice, which is kind of true, because they really don't have much choice. If they want to get the 5 power coins back, they have no choice but to temporarily give Tommy his powers back in order to get them back, because without the power coins, the 5 main Rangers don't have their powers, so in this case, it makes sense in this case. Anyway, after Zordon re-energizes Tommy's Green Ranger powers, he goes to Tommy teleports in his Green Ranger form to where Goldar has the box that contains the 5 main Rangers' power coins, and to confront Goldar to retrieve them. And then he's dealing with the putties that Goldar has with him as well. And then after he deals with Goldar a little bit, basically what happens is, after that, his temporary powers with his Green Ranger form start to give out on him a little, but he tells his powers not to give out on him before he gets the box, and he does manage to get it and get the Rangers their powers back. And then basically what happens is, once they get their power coins back and such, Zordon basically explains to them that basically there is a way for them to get their parents out of the dark dimension, and the only way they can get them out is to defeat the Dremel monster, which kind of makes sense, because the Dremel was the monster that kidnapped the Rangers' parents using the gas and trapped them there. So he's basically the key to, basically, by what Zordon basically means in this episode is, he means that the only way for the Rangers to free their parents from Rita's dark dimension in this case is sort of similar to what happened in the Doomsday 2-part episode, except in a different circumstance. The Doomsday 2-part episode had the entire city of Angel Grove trapped in the dark dimension, and if the Rangers would have lost the battle, I'm just referencing the Doomsday 2-part episode because of the fact that this episode does the same sort of thing, kind of. That's kind of why I'm referencing it. I just wanted to get that out of the way. So anyway, as I was saying about the Doomsday 2-part episode, the only way for the Rangers to free, in that one's case, the only way for the Rangers to free the citizens of Angel Grove was to defeat Goldar and Cyclopsis, because if they hadn't, the citizens of Angel Grove would have been trapped in the dark dimension forever, basically. And, basically, Zordon is also telling the Rangers to be careful when dealing with the Dramo monster because he might use his gas to hypnotize them again. And then Billy's saying that Zordon's right, remember what it did to him. And then they go to fight the Dramo monster. And then basically after that, the Rangers are, they morph to fight the Dramo monster because in the beginning segment of this episode, because this episode carries over from where part 1 left off, so they didn't have their powers at the beginning of this episode because of the after events of the previous one. So they didn't have their power coins because they handed them over to Goldar. I'm just referencing that there. Anyway, continuing on with what I was saying, they morph to deal with the Dramo monster. And then basically, after fighting the Dramo monster, what happens is the Dramo monster tries to use its gas to hypnotize some of the Rangers again to have them attack one another. And then after the rest of the Rangers manage to break out of the Dramo monster's control, like with what Billy had, but under a different circumstance in this case, Rita then, after the Dramo monster is fighting the Rangers a little more, Rita then makes it grow. And then they start dealing with the Dramo monster in the Megazord, and Tommy's not joining them in the battle, at least for this segment. Well, I think he might be, but not in the early segment of it he wasn't because of his temporary powers kind of giving out. So he had to rest up. And now that I mentioned that, I just want to mention something else. When Tommy went to basically retrieve the box, he touched the electrical field that the box was encased around, which the reason why I'm mentioning that is because because you see, after he retrieved the power coins that were in the box that was around the force field from Goldar, he's basically resting to rejuvenate his energies, and basically what happens is, while he's resting, Alpha finds out that his entire body has become electrically charged, and then basically Zordon makes an assumption that when he touched the electrical field that was around the power coins that was protecting them, he probably absorbed their energy, basically, and that basically is what revives him, basically, and he goes to help the other Rangers deal with the Dramo monster. And then the Rangers basically, they defeat the Dramo monster, and then Rita gets upset that she lost again. And then basically what happens is after that, the Rangers, as well as Tommy, are back in the command center, and Zordon is informing them that he's pleased to tell them that their parents are safe, and then Alpha tells them that they've been teleported back to the youth center and they don't remember anything, so basically their memories of what happened have been wiped, basically. So, and then Jason basically said that in a way Tommy's got his Green Ranger powers back, but Zordon informs him that that he and Alpha will have to, he informs Tommy that he and Alpha will have to run some tests in order to see if the electrical field kind of had a bit of a lasting effect with keeping his Green Ranger powers, because it might only be temporary just to be safe, because it might be like a temporary fix. Which is kind of true, because for the rest of this season and for some of the second season, he has to use some of Zordon's own energy to re-energize himself. So, after that, he basically asks Tommy that knowing this, does he still remain to be a power? Does he still choose to remain to be a Power Ranger? And then Zordon basically says absolutely. He's glad to be back with his friends, even if it's just for a little while. And then after that, basically what happens is then it goes into a scene where the Rangers are in the youth center and they're being all kind to their parents and stuff. And then Skull is basically wanting to leave. Oh, but before I finish the video, I'm just going to mention, when Kimberly sees her parents again, she basically tells them that she had wondered if they didn't want to see her because of them being divorced. And then Kimberly's father basically explains that just because they're divorced doesn't mean they don't love her and stuff, which is kind of true. Anyway, and then Tommy shows up in the episode and she introduces them to him, and then basically Skull is basically wanting to leave the party shortly after that, but because the party's getting kind of boring, and then Bulk finds a way to basically re-energize the party by basically starting like another food fight that sort of happened in episode 6, and then after that, after the food fight starts, the Rangers are basically, it causes a little bit of a commotion with Miss Appleby and Mr. Kaplan, and Mrs. Appleby basically states that if you can't beat them, join them, which is kind of a phrase that people use sometimes. And then basically, Zach, I think it's Zach that basically says that, I guess it's true, they say you're only as old as you feel. And then basically what happens is after that the Rangers start doing a little bit of a laughing, and then that's basically where this episode kind of stops. But before I finish, I just want to mention when the food fight started again, the Rangers were backing out because they didn't want to get hit by the mess. So, and as I said, Zach mentioned you're only as old as you feel, and then basically, like I said, that's where the episode stops. So if you guys like this video when I post it, I am going to post it today, and then I'm going to delete the recording shortly after. So if you guys like this video when I post it, just please give this video the real best you guys can, and I will see you guys, probably maybe Wednesday for the next video. So until then, guys, like I always tell you with this series, may the power protect you always.